Do you ever feel like you are in the prison of the mind? Maybe there's a certain worry that keeps haunting you, a certain thought that you can't seem to let go of. There's always this reoccurrent fear or thought pattern that keeps coming back at a certain time in your life, isn't there? When that problem seems to be resolved, the mind can find another worry, another problem. It never seems to leave you alone. There's always this nagging feeling in the background of a certain worry that is pressuring on you and weighing you down. Even when you're not thinking about it, you can feel the weight of it on your shoulders. You know what the weird part is though about the brain? We think that our thoughts are based on some truth, but thoughts just come into your brain based on how you are already feeling. That means that when you are feeling anxious, when you are feeling fearful, the thoughts will just be made up by your mind to resonate in that frequency. When you're already feeling fearful and sad, the mind will just come up with new worries. This is the dissatisfied mind, chronic dissatisfied. Always trying to change things, always wishing things were different, always thinking about how things should be or should have gone, and never really happy with how things are. But so shall I tell you a little secret about the mind? The mind is complete lies. Your mind is just a chatterbox that likes telling you things based on how you already feel. Nothing your mind tells you is actually objectively true. And you know what the mind is a sucker for? Repetition. Everything that is repetitively fed to the mind, it will start to believe. So that is why worries keep appearing. We start to believe them more and more. But your mind is not true. Every thought is a lie. No thought is objectively true. Everything was made up. You know why? Because you are not your mind. The only thing that is real is who you truly are, which is the listener to the thoughts. And we often confuse our mind with who we are. We think, I was thinking, I had this thought, but you didn't have any thought. You just heard the thought. You were the receiver of it. And especially when it comes to worries that keep reappearing in our brain, these become like thought entities that we are subscribed to. And we feed them so much of our energy, and the more energy we feed them, the more often they come back to us. They possess us. They possess our brain. Little do we realize we are the ones feeding the thought entity. And with that, we also have the power to unsubscribe from certain worries, certain thought entities. We have the power to let go. As soon as a thought occurs and you realize that you are not your mind, you don't have to believe this thought. You can nip it in the bud. You can dissociate from this thought. And this is done through the simple understanding that nothing your mind feeds you is actually objectively true. Everything is just made up. It's just a voice in your head. It's just something that popped up in your head based on how you were already feeling. So the real question is not what are you thinking and not what are you worried about, but what are you truly feeling? If there are certain worries that keep appearing, is there a certain pattern in these? Is there a specific underlying emotion that is feeding all of these worries? Because once you really get to the root of a certain fear, that's when you can truly feel the emotion. And often this goes back to the past, maybe even childhood, when certain fears were formed. And that's the moment we decided to think a certain thought, and then we subscribe to it. And now, years and years later, we are still subscribed to that same worry, that same fear. We do have the power to decide whether we are going to listen to this thought. Who you truly are is the listener to the mind. And with that, you can choose to let things go.